Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Fibro Friday. I have a few news to share with you today and then the topic for today, which would be on muscular spasms, because we haven't really spoken about that as much before. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. But first things first, in case that you didn't know, we have already raised more than £100 on our fundraiser. So thank you so much to everyone who has helped so far. Thank you for all of your support, for sharing and everything else. And thank you everyone who will be doing the rest of the streams, and thanks to Sunken King Miniatures for joining the other day. It was such a blast. So thank you everyone, you're being seriously just amazing. Today has also been the launch of the sale for both Elthrain's Trinkets and for Lichforge Mythics. So you can also donate through these two shops on Etsy by making a purchase, and the money will all go to Fibromyalgia UK. And that's kind of all I had to say on the news. I've been literally talking for about 2 hours straight now, so you may not get a lot from me today. I was finishing a conference paper and I just simply didn't have time to do this in advance. So anyway, today I would like to talk to you about muscular spasms. We've talked previously about chronic fatigue, chronic pain, and fibrofog, but today I want to talk about muscular spasms in particular because they are not particularly talked about as usual, and it's something that can really have a severe effect on people, and they're not always very well understood as to what is a muscular spasm, what happens, what not. So I'm going to share some of my experiences with you guys and how they relate to fibromyalgia. So just for starters, you don't need to have a chronic illness or an illness at all, in fact, to have a muscular spasm. In fact, we all have them, whether you notice or not. Most of the time, the spasms are completely involuntary and indolent. They will not cause you a problem in any way, shape, or form. Maybe you've noticed sometimes that you get a weird flick on your arm, like a pulling sensation, and then it goes away, or on your toes, your calves, I don't know, somewhere. But the type of muscular spasms that I'm referring to are ones that can genuinely hurt, and that can be quite severely damaging and sometimes even dangerous for us. I know that they're particularly bad for people with other musculoskeletal disorders, and they can be quite severe for people with arthritis as well, other than fibromyalgia. So this is a good thing to be aware of. So muscular spasms can happen for many different reasons. Most commonly is because you've done some form of movement or exercise and you've either overstretched or not done it properly. The muscle is not quite in the right way and it's receiving the impulse from the brain to get back into place, and it's just trying to find its way around, essentially. It's just been a slight musculoskeletal malfunction, essentially. And like I said, most of the time it just comes back to its place, nothing happens, and there you go. Unfortunately, as you guys know, fibromyalgia, due to its neurological impact, it can cause a few issues. So sometimes the impulses that our brain is sending to our body to put things back in place or to get things corrected don't quite work well. And a lot of the time for us, muscular spasms come with pain as well. It may not be immediate pain, and sometimes the muscular spasm can act as a sort of warning sign that pain is coming. But if you don't hear the warning sign quick enough, it will result in pain, and quite excruciating pain. It's a very different type of pain than from the ordinary sort of achiness that we feel when we have fibromyalgia. So to give you an example, I know that if I am sitting in a specific position for a prolonged period of time because of how my left leg operates and the issues that I had there of how those nerves trigger the fibromyalgia, I know if I sit in an uncomfortable position for some time, my leg, literally from my buttocks all the way to my knee, will start having a spasm. It kind of feels like something is doing this, like shaking your leg all the way. That's kind of how a spasm should feel to begin with. If they are particularly violent, you may even see me flipping my leg Kind of like, when you're sitting in the doctor and they're doing a reflex check and they hit you in the knee and you just bounce back. Kind of like that. If it's particularly violent, I will flick my toes, I will flick my foot. Sometimes I have even flicked my full leg. Thankfully, touch wood, it's not been very common, but for some people with other musculoskeletal disorders or with neurological problems, they can happen just like nothing. So that's how it starts. That's how it can start. If you are very unfortunate and the spasm has been very, very sort of sly and subtle, you may not notice it. And what you will notice will be the pain of the muscle being pulled. Essentially, it's kind of like a Chinese finger trap. You have the thing and you're trying to pull it back and pull it back. That's essentially what the spasm is doing. It's just creating a movement where the muscle is just being pulled and pulled and pulled and pulled. And the more you pull, actually the worse that you're making it, because it's not getting any release. And that is how the pain happens. Obviously, the muscles keep on feeling resented. If it's happening nearby a tendon or a ligament or some form of soft tissue that is still creating a connection, it could even be affecting the joint overall, the bones, and you could be literally having the feeling of things are being pulled apart and you can't stop them. They feel like convulsions, and I've known people who didn't know they suffer from spasms and originally thought that their spasms were like an epileptic attack, because if they happen quite violently, like I said, the convulsion it just makes you vibrate, it makes you move. So it can be a scary thing to happen if they are quite violent and you don't know what they are. The worst thing that happens in terms of mobility overall is that because of the vibrations that it creates, you can just lose control of your mobility, like I said. So if it happens to me in my hands, it's not just the fact that my hands get shaky, it's just suddenly I can have a spasm and this will just completely close and I won't be able to open it, or I will need to force my hand to open. That's how a spasm can work as well. The muscle is just being told constantly close, 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 close. The worst type of spasm that I have ever experienced, and I suffer them quite frequently, but the worst one I've ever experienced has been right here on the torso, right along the sternum. Now, in case you don't know, there's a reason why rib cages can be still noticeable even if you have quite a lot of muscle, because there is not a lot of muscle in that area. It's very fine muscle. There is a lot of bone there to protect your lungs, your heart, and the rest of your vital organs. Because those muscles are so fine and the fibers can be quite sensitive, having a spasm in there can be severely troublesome and also really painful. It essentially kind of feels like you can't breathe. It kind of feels like a palpitation here at the bottom of your diaphragm, and it starts affecting your breathing. It starts affecting your general posture. You may not be able to stand upright. You may end up curling down, and because of the area where it is, like I said, because there is a lot of bone and not a lot of muscle density, it can be super painful because it's literally pulling from the parts of your body that you need to protect so hardly. For me, that type of spasm can be severely exhausting because of the breathing problem. It's the same if they happen in the back, right along the spine, in between the vertebrae. There is still, tissue. Things can still go wrong in there. And because it goes right along our nervous central system, the pain can be quite severe as well. And you will suffer something quite similar. You will feel like your back can't just be in one position. You kind of forces your posture into a specific place, and it can be quite nasty, to be honest. The good thing is that spasms are actually quite easy to control if you know what they are and if you can catch them on time, and also if you have some help. You normally can get rid of spasms on their own. They normally go on their own, but if they don't, they can last quite some time and you may need to force them to stop. And the easiest way of doing that is usually by applying heat, because it will relax the muscle and therefore it will eventually subside, or by having a gentle, or not so gentle in some cases, massages, because the spasm can create knots and it can create other types of tensions that can become quite, dangerous and painful on their own right. So if you have some heat and you know exactly where the spasm is, normally just by trapping the position, like imagine it was here, just by applying pressure in there and just finding where the vibration is coming from, you can usually ease them out and they will go. Um, if you have something like a foam roller, I would sincerely recommend them, or a massage gun, which is literally like an automated machine that you press a button and it kind of feels like a meat tenderizer in your body, to be honest. But they are really useful. The same if you have those small balls, particularly ball-shaped massage items, just because then you can get into small spaces and things that are a bit more tricky to get rid of the spasm. Spasms was not something that I experienced to begin with when I had fibromyalgia. It was something that came actually a bit after my diagnosis. It was very much related to the fact that because I didn't know what was wrong with me, I stopped being as active as usual because I was scared that I was going to hurt myself. So my muscles stopped being as strong as they used to, and the pain kind of didn't allow me always to be as active as I wanted, the same than the fatigue. So it was not something that I was used to. And as my muscles became weaker, then the spasms started happening, it seems. So it was kind of like a side effect of the fibromyalgia, if you like, rather than a direct symptom that I was experiencing from day one on a constant basis. I do know some other people, however, who have had the muscular spasms from the beginning just because of the pain. The pain leads us into strange positions just to try and avoid it or to try to deal with it, and that is then what causes those muscles, those tendons to end up in wrong places and to force those spasms, essentially. So again, it's not one of those things that comes related to fibromyalgia that happens to everybody, but it happens to a fair amount of people, and they can be, like I said, quite brutal. The good news is that normally you can take care of them pretty well and pretty easily. So if you suffer from spasms quite severely, apply heat, apply massages, and hot showers or hydrotherapy really will help with that as well, because it will be strengthening the muscle at the same time than relaxing it. So if you have problems with muscular spasms, sincerely look into keeping up your fitness levels. And even if it's just doing stretches, the better that your muscles are conditioned to physical activity, the stronger they're going to be and the least likely they're going to be to react to that type of misfire signal from our brains. And that's all I have for you today, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this gives you a better idea of the side effects of fibromyalgia or the associated symptoms of fibromyalgia and the other things that we have to deal with which contribute to the pain and fatigue. Because like I said, having a very bad muscular spasm can be literally you're done for the day and you just need to rest. So if you suffer from them, take them seriously, give them the care due. And if you know someone who suffers from muscular spasms, whether they have fibromyalgia or not, look into how some of these things potentially can help them, because it will make a huge difference for them. Thank you so much and take care. Bye.